What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man. Super happy to be back. And we have been away for a little bit. Did a little bit of traveling. We were out in Idaho. Shout out to Boise, Idaho. You guys are awesome. You were really nice and treated us well. No issues there. We were actually out on Man on the Street. Actually, was just fun. We got a chance to talk to a couple people, asked them a couple questions. I believe they also started listening to the podcast. So thank you guys. You guys have been awesome. Can't wait to actually have you guys on the show. That would be great. What else do we have? Just got finished doing a little bit of meditation. Again, I'm on the Joe Dispenza kick right now. I think as far as meditation, his meditations are great because like they basically love you, right? So it's all these things that, for people that need more love in their life or to hear these things of positive reinforcement. I think it's a great one. There's a couple options. So I would just look on YouTube, Joe Dispenza. There's a bunch of them. I have a few that are my favorite. I'll post them either. I'll probably post them on Instagram. So if you're not following Instagram, NCUID, let's get connected. Let's start growing that page because I'd love that'd be a great way to connect to all the listeners. So I wanted to shout out everybody too. Everyone that's been listening. Hey, we hit 66 countries, which was great. Let's see what else we got here. 66 countries. How many? 539 cities. A couple new locations listening in. Shout out to Nampa, Idaho, Jonesboro, Georgia, Apple Valley, California, and Disbury, Manchester. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for checking in, and I appreciate you guys for doing that. And let's see. So I hope you're having a great day. And if you're not having a great day, just remember it's just the thoughts in our head. It just cycles, man. It cycles. You just really have to figure out, okay, why am I not feeling good? Why am I not happy? And really identify certain things, certain criteria. And then again, just remembering that it's all temporary. All of this is temporary. Life is temporary. And if we can pull ourselves out of the immediate when we're not feeling well and go do something else or think about something else, it definitely can change your mind. And worst case scenario, something physical, right? So push-ups, sit-ups, getting up, yelling, screaming, ice baths. I finally got back in my ice bath today. That was awesome. Made me feel pretty good. I only did about maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and then I got out. But all is well when after you get in the ice bath. So I would recommend those things if you're not having a good day. But if you are, I'm glad to hear it. Today's going to be a recap. There's a couple things that it just hit me. And the first one was, I keep not contemplating, but I keep reflecting back on life. And I keep thinking, wholeheartedly, what is my life about? And every time I think about it, I just reverse or I go back to thinking about the time, right? Like the amount of time that we have. And it's funny because like when you're a young lad, you're not really conscious of that, even though in essence you have the same amount of time than everyone else, even though, because like you never know, right? Like you can go out on a bike ride and maybe not return, God forbid, but it's reality, right? Like there's something tragic can happen, a freak accident. So like, even though you may be younger, you still have, a percentage of whatever luck potential to not make it back or to make it back, however you want to see it. Same thing, as you become older or wiser in my case, it's still very much the same. Like you start thinking about time, time more often as far as how much time do I actually have left over. And what am I doing? What am I doing with that time? So I want to give like a big macro level of my aha moments, most recent. And again, very, very focused around time. A couple of episodes, if you haven't listened to the last couple ones, there was one I spoke about, just the one aha moment that I had. If we all, in general, all we have is the same amount of time, then there's a couple things that you got to really figure out. I was like, what do you want to be doing with that time? Who do you want to spend, who do you want to spend it with? And really location-wise is where do you want to do it, right? So I feel like location is like, based on who you want to spend it with and what you want to do. So, really just want to re-emphasize that. That's like, okay, what I just currently thought about was like I added that to the mix. I'm like, okay, so it's definitely about time. It's definitely what do I want to do? It's definitely who do I want to hang out with? And then I just kind of took it to an extra layer, like as far as wherever you are in your journey, in life, whether, I guess this is specifically in terms of status, like financially, like your capability to do things without having to worry about finances. I think that's another important thing. Like, I wish if I can go back and just give myself a little more perspective. I was always, and I continue to always be like hey, we're just going to figure it out. We're going to go do this. And wherever the wind blows, like I'm, if you're not into astrology, I'm a Sagittarius with, I think it's like some kind of moon rising. I'll have to find out and figure it. I have it somewhere here. But yeah, in essence, I go with the flow. I like to do my own thing, sort of thing, which is great. But I feel like with a little more structure, I think, and again, everyone's journey is different. So I'm just going to talk personally about my own journey for a second. I feel like I probably would have done things just a little bit different around that. And here's what I wish I would have known. One, I would have really loved to comprehend the whole time thing, right? Even when you're young, you're like, I don't give a fuck. I got millions of hours left, like, why should I worry about it now? I really would have loved to grasp that a little bit more, as far as, time isn't guaranteed, even though we all have the same amount of time. And then who do you want to spend it? What do you want to be doing? And then really, how are you using your time wisely to like increase resources? And I think that's the biggest thing, like to oversimplify it, because there's so many paths and there's so many ways to get to a level of like financial freedom, or just like the ability to not have to worry, or the ability to have access to, go take your trip or go see your cousins, family, whoever you want, as far as like answering that question, who do you want to spend your time? And again, we're getting to that level, which is great. It's great to see and have that like ability here and there more often than not. But I really wish, like, again, not a regret, but I really wish that like I probably would have locked in a couple years earlier to that. Cause again, I think it would have completely changed the dynamic of my reality currently, but that's okay. And I feel like it's part of my journey. I'm very excited as far as like what we continue to build. As long as we continue to, move forward and progress, then that's all you can ask for from yourself. And again, I feel like there's different levels from people, right? Because of the experiences and things they've done. So whatever that means to you, it would be, I would say it's the same thing. So at a macro level, I think there's two like realities, right? And I've spoke about this just a little bit, as far as the reality of, the structure that we live in within society, like the capitalistic structure, as the way the world works financially, and then the way you work as a human being based on your, your traits, your behaviors, what influence you have, and then how you make decisions. So I feel like those are two things that obviously align and work together, but can be very different at the same time, or can actually work well together if you sort of have this personality trait of, whatever these personality traits that most successful in the financial game have, and then like if you're successful in like the human game too, like you can become, you've sort of figured it out, right? But I think for most of us, it's a combination of kind of figuring out both at the same time, or still trying to figure out certain things, right? Again, for me on a personal level, if you haven't heard my story or anything like that, like, was born in Colombia, went back recently, visited, and I was like pretty shocked in terms of like our living standards. And then I was like, oh, this is kind of where my mindset comes from, as far as scarcity. Love my family. Obviously, they're amazing people, and I'm very thankful that they brought me up and they made the decision to move out here to the U.S. To get the opportunity to have this opportunity that we have here in the U.S. And we'll talk about all that stuff later, and as far as what's currently going on. But again, I feel like there were things that you sort of don't get starting off at that point, right? Like there's definitely an emotional part that you get, and there's some emotional things that I feel like I was way ahead of the game based on having to speak English as a second language, but speaking English to help my mom pay bills, communicate with the judge when she got a ticket, certain things like that definitely leveled up my human aspect of things. But I wish I had a little bit more of that grasp, or even someone, like a mentor or some sort of person that I kind of looked up to, as far as Rich Dad Poor Dad kind of thing. I'm sure everyone has read that, or at least heard about Rich Dad Poor Dad, the book. I wish I had a rich dad sort of that kind of taught me a couple of things. But again, that just goes to the one part of life where when I think back, and again, reverting back to the main thought here is just, there's only a certain amount of time. It's not guaranteed. And so we really have to get smart, really get smart at what is it exactly that you can provide to other people, right? Society, of value, that someone's willing to trade that, either solution to their problem for something that you're able to make, money in. Or, again, there's so many ways to make money. It's just what is the way that makes the most sense for you, based on what you want, need, your lifestyle needs, et cetera, right? So I think that's the way where people, it's I don't really know what I want to do yet. People in college, younger kids, some people know already, our kid Ozzy is from the get-go, he's I want to manage the Premier League. And I'm that's fantastic. I can't wait for you to hire me as your spiritual hype man for your team. I hope, and just keep encouraging that. So, some people don't, some people have it, but I know that there are people out there that are I'm not really sure, what it is right now. And that's okay. But I think if you can wrap your brain around, understanding hey, one part of it is you have to really figure out either an offer, a service, something of your talent that is worth and valued for someone else that you can exchange monetary value and do really well, right? So time over, leverage, your value leverage over the amount of time that you actually spend, right? So some people are service businesses or products, obviously a product you build once and you can keep selling. So it just depends. And there's plenty of ways. So if you're in that position, I feel you just have to figure out what that is for you. Now, for most people probably listening, you're probably already established. You either have a job, you either have your own business, which then again takes me to the second part. It's if you're already doing well financially, fantastic. You don't have to worry about things. You're at a level of succeeding. Some people in that position are well, I need more time, or I want more time to not have to go to my 9 to 5, or not have to be so that is the opposite part of where, or not even the opposite, but the other side of that triangle. Sphere, whatever the shape is, but I feel that is where you start really to figure out, okay, who do I want to spend my time with, what do I want to be doing with my extra time, and is it of value to me and the people around me, and is it bringing me joy? So again, just it's very simple when you start actually giving your time to reflect on it. But I feel because we're so inundated with so many things at one time, and just I don't know if you feel the same way, but now, I remember 10 years ago, there were so many things on the to-do list. There's so many things to do, between doing whatever you need to do. For me, it was whatever I need to do for the business and growing, as far as being an entrepreneur, closing clients, going to shoot, doing photography, doing a bunch of stuff. And then going out to eat, and then hanging out, and then partying, and then there was so many, it felt like the day was pretty long, and I had a lot of energy to do a lot of things. Where now, not that I don't have the energy, because I still go do a bunch of I play soccer, but I still feel I'm I don't, that's way too many. Those are way too many things on the to-do list right now, and I just need to focus on a few of them so I can enjoy my time and not wake up the following morning and not remember what the fuck I did yesterday. Yeah. So that was my aha moment today. Definitely a couple things that happen. I'm gonna have a couple short episodes. But I hope, if you're going through something like that, or if, you are in any form, shape in that sort of situation where you're still sort of figuring out your life, or just questioning certain things, whether it's in the financial arena or just the human being arena, or maybe both. I hope it helps. What I would say to myself, my previous self would be hey, we all have the same amount of time. That is true, but the time isn't guaranteed. So even if you're young, like you don't fucking know. So here's the way I would process, some of these decisions that you make. It's like, who do you want to spend it with? What do you want to be doing? And then ultimately, like, what's the outcome that, you want to have? Like, what feeling wise, and what is that? What are those things that you got to do to get those feelings? And obviously it changes, right? Like we progress as far as like maturity level. But I think for most part, like if you align yourself with whatever decade you're in, those are things that are going to be timeless anyway, right? Like those thoughts and how you make those decisions. And then the second thing would be like, really figure out how you're going to maximize your time for the amount of service value that you have, and then figure out what that means to you. And I think, let me be a little more specific about what figuring out. Like, I would say we all are, even though the same human being, we're all different in terms of how we learn, how we interpret things, and then what we're really good at, depending on how our brain is wired. And so like, I feel like that's the first step, is identifying what is that for you, like how does your brain actually work? And then from there, what are the things that you like, what are the jobs or the things that you're going to be doing to trade your time in for money to maximize that based on how your brain works and what you can provide to society as, as a solution to somebody else's problem, which is basically everything. It's a fucking large transaction. So that was that. I hope it helps. I hope you guys, get as much as I get from this, because I fucking love doing this and speaking from the bottom of my heart, from my inner feelings, and sharing these thoughts with you. And I appreciate the fact that people are listening. Numbers are going up, which is always a positive, great reinforcement. Thank you guys so much for listening. And don't forget, nothing changes until you do. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.